Now, one of the problems with freshwater is that sometimes where you happen to live on Earth doesn't have enough of it for the number of people you have, or the number of plants you're trying to grow, or animals you're trying to raise. For example, here in California, California is the most highly populated state in the nation. We have about 40 million people. That's, about 12% or something of the US population lives just in California. We also grow the most food of any state. California grows more food than its own people can eat, and we export a lot of our food to other states and even other countries. And we raise a fair amount of cattle here too. And all of those things require a lot of water. So during dry years, although the total amount of water on the earth is constant, where we happen to live here during dry years, there isn't enough fresh water, not enough lakes, not enough river water to actually support our population and all of our agriculture. So that's why droughts are a problem in California. We need this fresh water, but here in California, because we have so many water demands coming from agriculture, coming from farms, coming from humans that live here, if we haven't had a good water year, if we haven't had a lot of rain or snow, and our rivers and lakes are low, like they are this year, we actually don't have enough fresh water to support all the agriculture and all the people. And that means that we need to get water from other sources, and in our case, that means other states. Specifically, we do get some fresh water from the Colorado River, which starts in Colorado and ends in Southern California. And when we have particularly dry years, we have to sort of beg Nevada and other states to release more water down that river, so we have more water coming into the state. So running short of fresh water is a problem for us. And particularly the last decade has seen a lot of drought years here in California. So fresh water has been an issue. Now, a lot of you probably don't know that while humans who live in California mostly get their water from lakes and rivers in California, a lot of you probably don't know where agriculture gets most of its water from. The farmers we have in California. The farmers in California do not get most of their fresh water from lakes and rivers. The farmers in California get most of their fresh water from an enormous underground lake that is in the Central Valley. And I don't know if you know this name, but underground lakes have a name. They're called aquifers. California has one of the largest aquifers in the United States. We have an enormous underground lake, which is under the Central Valley. And most of the farmers now in the Central Valley don't rely on, there really isn't enough lake water and river water to support our agriculture. So what they've done is they've just basically dug wells for their farms, and they pipe the water up directly from the lake underneath the Central Valley. And that would be fine, except that that lake is now starting to run dry. It's a huge lake. It was formed during the last ice age when part of California was under a glacier. The glacier melted and formed this enormous underground lake in California, but it's been quite warm for the last few thousand years here, and we've been pumping out this aquifer water pretty quickly. So the underground lake is starting to run dry, and that's becoming a problem for agriculture here, because that's the water that supports our agriculture. Now you might wonder, since we happen to be next to an ocean, why we don't just use the ocean water. Why can't we just pull water from the Pacific Ocean and for drinking or for irrigating the crops? Well, if you remember from earlier, ocean water is high salt water, and salt water is toxic to humans, also toxic to our land animals and our plants too. So if you tried to grow plants watering them with ocean water, they would die almost immediately. And if you tried to drink it, you would get sick and die pretty quickly too. So just like ocean water dehydrates you, it also would dehydrate land plants. Now, there is a way to convert ocean water into fresh water by removing the salt. That process of removing salt from salt water is called desalination. And it's removing salt from salt water. Essentially turning salt water into fresh water. That happens naturally when water evaporates from the oceans because the water goes up but the salt doesn't. We can do it ourselves in various ways. For example, water can be pushed through a filter that traps the salt and allows the water through. Or we can boil it. Just like it evaporates naturally, we can make it evaporate artificially to remove the salt. But either of those things, filtration or boiling, they take a tremendous amount of energy. And the problem with energy is expensive. So removing the salt from ocean water, which is doable, technically, is really expensive. And it's been so expensive that we haven't really built the plants to do it. The plants that would remove the salt from salt water are called desalination plants, and I think there's only one or maybe two operating in all of California. And they produce very small amounts of water. There are some countries on Earth that actually get most or all of their water from desalination because they don't have any natural rivers or lakes. For example, there are countries in the Middle East that get essentially all of their water by desalination. Saudi Arabia is one of them. They have huge desal plants, and they take the ocean water that's nearby and remove the salt. But for them, it's Saudi Arabia, they have oil. So for them, energy is cheap, very cheap. So desalination is not as big a problem for them as it would be, for example, for us. For us, it would be expensive, plus we haven't built the plants to do it. Okay, so that's kind of the story of water here. And I wanted to focus specifically on California. Let's see, I think I'm gonna bring up a map for you. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you our local area on the map. So here's Antioch here and Pittsburgh here. And of course our college is in here. And Antioch and Pittsburgh are next to two of the largest freshwater rivers in California. They supply most of the drinking water to most of the people in Northern California. One of them is the San Joaquin River here, and the other is the Sacramento River here. Those are two of the largest freshwater rivers in California, and they supply drinking water for pretty much everyone almost everyone in Central and Northern California. Again, the agriculture is focused here in the Central Valley. The the farms are mostly in here and also in the Salinas Valley further down. And they mostly get their water from the aquifer, the underground lake, which you can't see on the map because it's underground, that they just stick wells here to pump out the water from the underground lake. Southern California doesn't have as many choices for water. And let's see if we can get down to Southern California here. So Southern California gets a lot of its water from a few different sources. Some of you, if you've ever driven down Highway 5, may have noticed that there is an aqueduct, a man-made, human-made river, cement river, that carries some of our San Joaquin water down to LA. Also, Los Angeles taps the streams of the Sierras up here. So they act as a major water source for LA. And there's a lake up here. Let's see if we can find it. Where'd you go? There it is. So this lake right here, which is called Mono Lake, this also is a major water source for Los Angeles. So Los Angeles actually pipes in fresh water for its population from Mono Lake, from the streams of the Sierras here around the Owens Valley. They get a little bit from that aqueduct, the man-made river flowing down here along Highway 5. But once you get down to San Diego and these areas in far Southern California, there's not enough water up here to feed LA and also the San Diego area. So folks in this very southern area of California tend to get most of their fresh water from the Colorado River, which is here and actually forms the border between Arizona and California. The Colorado River originates up in Colorado, so it starts up here and then works its way down. It's one of the largest rivers in the United States. Works its way down through Arizona and Utah, eventually coming to Las Vegas, where it is held in the Hoover Dam. And then a little bit of that water is allowed to flow south into California, and that's the water that sort of irrigates San Diego and that area down there. Now, getting back close to home, you may think, well, I told you water recycles, right? We don't run out of water. Although in our particular area, we may run out of fresh water, but the earth doesn't run out of water. That's because water just goes from one form to another and one location to another, but doesn't become something other than water. Even the water you drink. So, for example, in Pittsburgh and Antioch, let's say you live here in Pittsburgh and Antioch, most of the water that comes out of your tap, when you turn on your tap or your shower, it's pulled in from the river, the San Joaquin River. Of course, it doesn't go directly to your home. It goes to a processing plant where they clean it up and filter it, and then it goes to your home through pipes. But let's say you take a shower. So after you take the shower, the water that's left over goes down the drain, and then the drain takes it into the sewer, and then the sewer takes it to the Antioch sewage treatment plant, which cleans it up and then sends it back to the river. So even the water that's pulled in to go to your home, after you've used it, when it goes down your drains or you flush your toilet, it goes right back to the treatment plant and right back to the river here. So it just recycles locally. And let's suppose you drink water. Well, when you drink water, you would think, well, now it's gone, right? Except it's not. The water you drink just becomes water that's now part of your body water. But eventually that's going to come out of you too. You'll pee it out or you'll sweat it out. And it'll end up as water vapor, or if you pee it out, it'll end up back in the toilet and then back to the treatment plant and then back to the river. So even the water that you draw, that we humans draw from the river sources, after we use that water, goes back to the river sources. So that water recycles too. Okay, so there's your story of water for the day. And that's our renewable resource focus. Next, we're going to focus on the non-renewable resource of fossil fuels.